Today's guest is James Geier of 555 International.
I'm an artist, designer, builder, fabricator.
Right.
I'm a carpenter. Designing and creating exciting, engaging spaces, specializing in professional sports retail. We do a lot of hospitality work, nightclubs, bars, restaurants. There's just the ability to elevate the level and that experience there that maybe people haven't done in the past. That's the kind of things I want to do.
Step into the future of manufacturing at FABTECH, North America's largest event for metal forming, fabricating, welding, and finishing. Get hands-on with cutting-edge technology, connect with industry trailblazers, and find solutions that drive innovation and efficiency. From the shop floor to the C-suite, FABTECH brings the entire manufacturing world together. Learn more and register today at fabtechexpo.com. And now, back to the episode.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator Magazine, and he is...
Lincoln Bruner with the Two and Pipe Journal, and sometimes a fabricator and other things.
Yes, he is. Today's guest is James Geier of 555 International. I get afraid trying to describe his business because it seems like he does a lot of stuff.
Well, on the website it says design, fabrication, and management. And
yes.
Making cool shit.
And
that actually is pretty accurate.
And we talked a lot about all three of those things.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So a lot of his clients currently, professional sports teams, high-end luxury brands, hotels, restaurants, and he works with them to kind of make their retail experience, their guest experience come alive, be somewhat unique. Yeah. And they fabricate almost all the elements that go into these facilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Facilities. Is a restaurant a facility? I don't think so. Anyway, these places. And anyway, the conversation's good. He's a very interesting person and has a lot of good stories. And
after we were done recording, we found out his father-in-law is Ed O'Bradovich.
Yeah. Yep.
Chicago Bears.
He's kind of Chicago connected in terms of, he's dropping the names of like the Wirtz family, Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who he knows personally.
He's a big hockey fan. And,
even though he's from New Jersey, New York area.
From Newark, New Jersey.
He's a Chicago guy now.
Yeah. No, pretty much through and through. But in the conversation we were having very much feels responsible for being true to his clients' brands, and the example he uses is Chief Blackhawk logo for Chicago Blackhawks, and anybody who follows that understands you have to treat that very respectfully to the point where, in the locker room, no one stands on the Chief logo. You have to walk around it, and taking elements of that and trying to work with it and have that come through, whether it be a kind of a retail store or some other imagery they may be fabricating. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the Indy Museum store that they did, Brickyards, very, very cool as well.
Oh, Indianapolis 500.
Yeah. And when they had no retail experience whatsoever there, apparently he created one from whole cloth. It's kind of a interesting conversation from my perspective too, because he thinks about everything. I mean, this guy just doesn't stop thinking. He thinks about the entire experience and really kind of emphasize the whole put yourself in the customer's shoes at all times. It's pretty cool.
I just thought I'd bring up my kind of recent positive experience with a major brand. I was up at Summerfest for July 4th weekend and just went to the Johnsonville, what do you call it? Johnsonville
tent
booth.
What was it? It was, I guess kiosk. It was area kiosk
pavilion.
And after doing some little karaoke of ROCK in the USA, I got me a you can't spell sausage without USA shirt.
Nice.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
That's great America branding right
there. Yeah, it really fits my personality.
Yeah.
I felt connected to a brand for the first time in a long time.
Disappointed you didn't wear it though.
Well, I wanted to rep the podcast.
Not repping sausage here. Come on.
Yeah. And plus I'd worn it all weekend already, and it's like eventually the little kid has to take his shirt off and have it washed.
And he hasn't washed it yet.
So anyway, so I think you'll enjoy this episode of the Fabricator Podcast. James Geier, interesting dude, and we'll let you get to it. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's time to tee up for a great cause. Come play the championship course at Bolingbrook Golf Club in Illinois on Monday, August 25th. Every drive, putt, and birdie helps support Spark Force's manufacturing camps and scholarship programs, empowering the next generation workforce. Sign up today at sparkforcefoundation.com and help shape the future of manufacturing. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back to the Fabricator Podcast. Today's guest, James Geier, 555 International out of Chicago. We're going to talk about his business, how fabricating plays into it, and a lot of other conversation around that, because you're in a pretty interesting business, James. Would you mind telling our audience what you're involved with?
Designing and creating exciting, engaging spaces commercially, specializing in professional sports retail, all kinds of high-end jewelry, fashion stores, the manufacturing of the products, the design and build of the environments. We do a lot of hospitality work, nightclubs, bars, restaurants, hotel.
And this is kind of not just metal as well. You
Yeah,
do
wood,
as well.
metal. I mean, millwork, metal is always an important component. We make all kinds of things out of foam, as you can imagine. Plastic materials that from afar look like anything based upon our ability to finish and faux paint and things like that. And not just creating custom products that are part of the environments we design, but we get hired by a lot of other architects, end users, general contractors to help execute millwork, metalwork, custom lighting. We do a lot of large-scale architectural lighting. So it's a wide range, but also highly custom. Competition is fewer and far between because it's very high-end expense that goes with it as well. We're never hired really to do the same old. There's plenty of people that do more the commodity type production.
Right.
So I'm not going to be doing gondola racks in grocery stores or Home Depot or point of purchase display, those kind of things. It's usually fairly hard fixed assets, furniture, fixturing, lighting, and things like that.
So we talked with you back in 2022 for a story in the Fabricator, and one of my favorite quotes from that story is kind of hinted at how you ended up on this path where, you train as a design engineer. You're schooling at the University of Illinois, and so basically, to paraphrase, you didn't want to take orders from other engineers.
Yeah, kind of.
So
Yeah.
how did you find this realm of the manufacturing world?
Well, I have a fine arts degree in industrial design from University of Illinois at Champaign. I had previously gone to Western Michigan University because I couldn't get into a fine school like Illinois, and it was close by, and I could play soccer there. But I ended up finding industrial engineering there, and I was always very mechanical growing up. I have a big carpentry background. I'm very handy. But truly, I'm a sculptor by birth and passion. So the idea of combining art, sculpture, and then, being a starving artist is not a thing. I decided early on that I needed to figure it out. So designing and building of products, and then all those products creating an environment, that's kind of how I got into it. So I wasn't going to do taillight assemblies for GM or styling of toasters or blenders for Oster. My skills in fabrication, and I was specializing in furniture, very cool high-end furniture during college, well before we had all this computer-aided, craft, build, design, and all that. So, you physically had to understand and how to operate all the various equipment. So wood, metal, plastics, injection molding. That was my industrial engineering experience that then led into the fine arts and combining that into crazy ideas about how to make things. And the business for us has always been, as I said earlier, the unique things that, other designers are looking for, or the important wow elements when you walk into a restaurant and you're stunned by this amazing chandelier hanging from the ceiling, and or beautiful details of back panels and die panels in a host area or things like that. So it really becomes, and we end up getting a lot of the work of who's going to make this. So, we get the call for figuring out the hard things. And that's kind of what I've really enjoyed, is taking on challenges and figuring out how to apply ideas about materials and fabrication. So
when you walk into a space like the really high-end restaurant that really wows you from the first glance, I maybe try to give us a peek inside your creative mind in terms of how you bring those wooden and metal elements together mentally and start piecing that out to create the kind of experiences that you guys specialize in.
it's kind of interesting, because I'm old school and I don't do any computer-aided design. I'm lucky to be able to keep up with emails and notes. I draw. I still draw. We grew up drawing, even with my essential tremor and my hands that shake real bad. I'm able to express myself in drawing. I also don't do Pinterest. I don't take a lot of photos. I don't go online looking for photos to put boards together. I have staff that helps do that as we put presentations together. But for me, it's things that I see, things that I'm involved with, ideas and feelings, travel a lot, look at other people's work, obviously look at photographs and, elements that I might see within there and try and, pull that together. And in ways that make sense because of a lot of experience. There's a lot of form follows function, but if it doesn't work, it's not going to help the situation. So I preach quite a bit with my staff. I teach, I don't preach, but the idea of, as designers, we have an opportunity to contour the design to work to the environmental need, the interpersonal need with the guest experience, a budget, a time frame, what's plausible. So a lot of times designers just paint these pretty pictures and somebody else has to figure it out, which is impractical and impossible sometimes.
And you bring it all together.
Bring it all together really before putting pen to paper or, CAD for me is computer after design. So I truly spend a lot of time just in my head thinking about things. You're asking about combination of metal and wood and how these kind of things come up and making decisions about what materials are best used. A lot of it is truly just, a lot of mental notes, a lot of, is that corner going to look the way it needs to look? A lot of people might not even see that corner, right? And we notice, well, the guest only notices so much, right? And so in our case with a client, we can adjust and contour that design to get the point across and, make sure that the guest is experiencing the things that we know that they'll hit on, and some of the other stuff can just fade into the background.
Yeah.
How many people do you have working for you, and how many do you have actually kind of building stuff for you?
Well, between the two different companies, I think the staff is probably about 170 people.
Okay.
Between the lighting company, metal shop, and then the wood company. I would say of that total number, 130 are in manufacturing of one sort or another, fabrication, logistics as well.
And that other company would be New Star Lighting.
Lighting, yeah.
And kind of much more focused, obviously, but there are elements, small what, in terms of creative thinking that goes into that type of product line as well.
It's a very specialized company, one of the few American independent manufacturers of a very specialized group of lighting products, which are confinement, public transportation, airport, outside, high abuse, tamper resistant. And there's a lot of, healthcare is a big deal now. Right. And the idea of having appropriate lighting can't just be a 2x4 coffer like you would typically buy. There's lots of solutions that come with the type of lighting, the function, lensing, things like that. So it's as creative as a custom lighting company could be.
And people with knowledge of that market know there's a lot of aluminum, a lot of metal goes that way. And they're doing a lot of metal for 555. Is that 3 5s or 555 International?
Yeah.
Do y'all actually have a laser cover on
actually,
the site, right?
I think we have 5
No kidding.
Keystronics,
Wow.
some couple of very high-end automated machines that can roll through a stack of 200 sheets of
Yeah.
sheet metal, with one person load and unload. But various lasers, quite a bit of lasers that are used in that. It's a lot of sheet metal
Yeah.
fabrication.
So y'all have access to, all the
Yeah.
modern tools.
We have we last year recently purchased a very high-end 5-axis router for the wood shop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So after a number of years of having, just simple routing CNC machines, we invested in a really nice home ag that, we can now make physical elements. And with that, we're not just cutting wood, we're cutting foam, we're cutting plastics, we're cutting all kinds of materials that, can then be simply assembled or turned into physical products on their own.
Do you outsource much?
We don't do plating, so we do outsource plating, powder coating. There's a certain amount of acrylic we don't do. I have a local company on the south side that really helped put into business many, many years ago. A gentleman I met who was working at a plastics fabricating plant, and he wanted to start his own business. So we kind of job that stuff out. We try and handle all the wood and all the metal in-house.
Yeah.
When you're piecing together all the elements that have to go into a certain project, are you sort of taking for granted that you're going to do the vast majority of that in-house? And how are you working your production schedule around that?
The plan is always to build as much as we can in-house.
Yeah.
And, I didn't start out graduating from University of Illinois ever thinking I was going to be in business or own a business at all. But working for another company and finding sources to bring things in-house and realizing, if you're going to guarantee your client that it's going to be done, you kind of have to do it on your own. You can't be waiting on, other suppliers to ship it in. And then, hopefully your business is important enough that it went ahead of somebody else who was bitching at them to, where's mine? So the business grew by taking on not just more responsibility, but bringing the manufacturing in-house to guarantee to our clients that, there's no excuses, that we have the facilities and the capabilities to do it, or the majority of it. And then, like I said, guarantee the client, guarantee a time frame.
Yeah.
The production scheduling then sort of becomes, a weekly endeavor of what becomes most important.
Mm-hmm.
Did all the materials come in to be able to start your fabrication? Sometimes supply chain becomes an issue. So we're constantly juggling and want to have as much pre-production and production run-up time to get it going. But it's not easy, especially when new start, it's a little easier because they get an order and most of the lights are somewhat similar. The custom stuff is new every time. So, there's a certain amount of things that we can kind of plan around, but it's going to be a new project every time.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned custom. On the 555 side, I imagine that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
How has your company's been around now for 36 or 37?
36 years.
36 years. How have your early clients and their work changed over the years to what you're doing compared to what you're doing now?
Expectations are crazy now.
Yeah.
With automation, right? With immediacy of everything. We used to have time. You used to do drawings by hand. You'd roll it up, put it in a tube, send it across the country by UPS. It would get there in 8 or 10 days. The client would unroll it. They would redline the drawings. We didn't have Zoom calls or anything.
Right.
And, they would send the drawings back to you, and we'd take a certain amount of time there used to be a lot of time, right? There is no time anymore. So the client expectations are kind of crazy, puts a lot of pressure on, well, one, the time to do your research, number two, to present it, pull it together, to react to it. All that stuff is now just pushed into a very tight window. So technology has gone a long way to help us, but it's also really put a lot of pressure on.
Does it feed the stress, or does it help you deal with the stress?
It feeds the stress. I
Yeah.
think Danny Meyer, the great hospitality entrepreneur, restaurateur, Union Restaurant Group in New York, he started Shake Shack. I like something he said. He said, technology has made us so efficient we no longer have any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and what does that do to your creative process?
Well, for me, as I said earlier, computer, is after design. So for me, I'm thinking all the time about design solutions,
Yeah.
ideas, driving in the car, standing in the shower, literally,
Yeah.
napkin sketches, sitting
In
at
the shower?
bar at the airport in the shower. But for me, that's my quiet time. That's my personal time.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't hop in the car and get on the phone all the time. I'm using that time for both business discussions, thoughts, challenges, but also for design solutions, engineering solutions, but don't have a lot of time because all the other parts of the business really take a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. We talked a bit about this before we started. I wanted to find out from you. You serve a lot of clients, the pro sports teams, but also the likes of Harley Davidson and Jeep and even American Girl. They've got tribes behind them.
Yeah.
They've got devoted followings.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering how this whole focus of yours on bringing people into a certain experience plays into that.
Yeah. Engagement, with your, I say guest,
Yeah.
with your customer, but the minute you bring them into your space, they're your guest and they should be treated accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And understanding what is inspiring and exciting for them. And every team has their own tribe. And, I driving out here, I used to drive out to Claire's Boutiques all the time, right down the highway, big,
Hoffman
young girl
Estates.
fashion accessories.
Yeah.
I designed stores for them early on and was
Wow.
building fixturing and, the idea of, all right, James, what do you know about what young girls are going to be inspired by? Well, I'm able to put myself in everybody's shoes, and certainly look. And I teach my staff, I help mentor my staff, the idea of you haven't looked through other people's eyes and staying with it, what's going on with culture these days and, the cultural messages and, popular culture. I have young adults, my kids, 26 and 24, and certainly throughout their growing up over the last, quarter century, really being able to understand what kids are interested in, what affects them, what is a Dallas Cowboys fan different than a Blackhawks fan or a Panther fan, and getting into the culture of the team, the messages of the team, the things that they promote, that they inspire within their fans. We become quick students of that and then able to apply it and make sure that the history, the richness of the history, or, they don't have much of a history.
Right.
How are we going to fabricate some of that history? Got that in there. It's all
Appreciate
planned out. Yeah, no problem.
So you had mentioned Florida Panthers,
Yeah.
2-time Stanley Cup winner now.
Current 2-time Stanley Cup champions.
Uh,
Onto a three-peat.
so hockey in Florida,
Yeah,
fan base mostly not from Florida,
Yeah.
relocated to Florida.
yeah.
What did you learn before you jumped into this assignment?
Well, hockey fans are hockey fans, and I'm
Okay,
a
yeah, that makes
big-time
sense.
hockey fan for a long time. Yeah, a lot of the fans are transplanted from the East Coast, as a lot of Floridians are. It's pretty amazing how warm weather hockey has done really well, especially between Tampa Bay and the Panthers. And
Oh yeah, Vegas and
well, where the best player in the league playing in Toronto, Austin Matthews, played roller hockey in Scottsdale, Arizona until high school.
wow.
And, understand a football fan, understand a hockey fan. You can apply it, understand a soccer fan.
Yeah.
The basic of that and what excites them as a fan for a specific sport, but also the tools of the sport, the equipment of the sport, the things that are used. That's fairly typical. So, not just, hey, it's a different logo and a different color scheme. There are the mascots, the Indian head logo, one of the great icons for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that you don't mess with, but not every team has that. You have to kind of find what are those nuggets, and that's what we play upon.
Widely thought of as the best logo in sports.
Yeah, voted on it.
Yeah.
No problem. I do a lot of work with the Blackhawks. We're kind of their go-to for, I had a call the other day with the woman in charge of design for the Blackhawks and, their fan base experiences and all that. And they're doing a addition to the Fifth Third Arena, which is their practice facility, public skating facility right by the United Center. And they're doing a Blackhawk Hall of Fame in there. They're coming on their 100-year century celebration. So they're doing this big expansion. And they didn't hire us to design some of that stuff, but brought in to bring reality to and make the stuff that's going to be featured in the Hall of Fame. And on the phone, clients as to the consulting groups they brought in. By the way, James knows us. So everything he's going to comment on for your designs, it would be like us telling you what you need to know.
Wow.
So,
hey, that's nice feather in your cap.
Well, and I get that from
pun intended.
Thank you.
I get that from pun intended.
Yeah.
I get that from most ownership groups. It could be Jerry Jones, it could be Art Rooney II for the Steelers, the Bulls and the Hawks, the Reinsdorfs and the Wirtz, the ownership for the Panthers. We become very good students, and then we're trusted to be those that are, given the opportunity to kind of create and build, because you have to learn about that. You have to, build their trust that, all right, well, they know us well enough that we'll go with what James says, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what a great niche to have. I think
I was going to give a quick shout out to Western Michigan for winning the
Go Broncos.
there
Isn't
you
that
go.
amazing?
NCAA. That is pretty amazing.
Oh, my God, to win the Frozen Four.
Yeah. I've actually, those two statements pretty much clears out my hockey knowledge. So
Yeah.
I'll just
Well,
be
good
quiet
one,
now.
because that's a very prideful thing. When I was there for the few years I was there, they always had a good team. They've always had a great program. I think they just completed like a $70 million new hockey facility and sports facility. And I'm a fan of hockey, and, Illinois doesn't have a hockey freaking team.
Moment of silence
But
for USC.
yeah, it was very exciting for Broncos Nation.
Yeah.
Are
My
you a
daughter
New
went to Minnesota, so I got involved just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. You New Jersey Devils guy, or
I'm sorry?
are you a New Jersey Devils fan? Or
No, I'm a
No.
Blackhawk fan.
Blackhawk,
I've
very
always
good.
been a Blackhawks fan.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, we were talking earlier before we started working with all these major teams, but yet you've just recently connected with Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Football Club. I don't know what the official name is.
RIFC, Rhode Island Football Club.
Yeah,
USL.
In the USL.
Yes, right,
yeah.
right. Lower level soccer league.
Yeah.
Gareth, our resident soccer expert.
yes, I was gonna say.
Don't
How
get
do-
me started.
It's our,
How do we?
Oh, get you
classify-
started.
It's our minor league to the MLS.
Yeah.
Small market teams, but Pawtucket, Rhode Island, brand new downtown development, a big stadium, surrounding plazas and fan engagement. So it's very exciting for them. But we got hired as a recommendation through somebody that we've done a lot of mutual sports merchandising programs for teams with, and we got recommended to ownership of the team. And they didn't have a big budget. They didn't have a big space, but they knew they wanted something special for their fans, some special place, a small flagship store that could be open year-round, because their stadium is downtown in a very heavy tourist area. So if you do have that and you're able to engage, people come, tourists come, they'll buy merchandise all day long. So this was about a 2,000 square foot shop. Which is quite a bit smaller than most of the larger professional teams. But it was really great to prove to them that they made the right decision, because it's a great little space that they've really capped off the opening of their stadium and the current season going on right now.
And what might you supply? Obviously, a lot of design effort goes into something like that. But what kind of deliverables are kind of
merchandising systems, retail fixturing, floor fixtures, tables, racks, perimeter wall systems. So when there's all kinds of adjustable merchandising solutions in retail when you have to change merchandise, when you might want to go from hard goods to soft goods, or clothing that needs to be hung, faced out, or folded on shelves. So perimeter wall merchandising systems that are flexible.
Wow.
Mostly metal based because the shelf brackets and the face outs lock into something called like a key slot standard. You'll see that in a lot of stores, or various levels of how to merchandise those spaces. And then the floor fixtures, and in some cases logos, large team logos, photo opportunities. We know how to put some of those things in the spaces. There you go. That's the Madhouse Team Store for the Bulls and the Hawks. 6 foot tall Larry O'Brien trophy, 6 foot tall Stanley Cup, the two
That's
logos.
funny.
That's the money shot. And, and that was designed knowing that, all right, well, that's central. That's a cash wrap. There's going to be a lot of people hanging out there. There's queue line fixtures as you're walking through that have all the tchotchkes and all the grab and go items that you want to pick up. So it's all strategic in where things are placed and the type of retail fixturing that goes in. But, it's the elements that are going to hold the products that are going to be sold.
I'm laughing just at the thought of like a photo opportunity area.
Yeah.
Who thinks of that?
25 years ago.
Yeah, but everyone's walking around with the phone. Everything's a
They
photo
are now.
opportunity.
It's selfies, and it's social media right away.
Yeah.
And the teams love that stuff when the fans engage. That's what I'm
It's
talking
extended
about.
to like municipal areas. If like you're a city and don't have a spot where somebody can take a photo of your city name or a mural or something like that, you're like missing out on.
Well, you see a lot of that now. Drive out to Aurora. You get near downtown Aurora. They spent money on a great sign that welcome to Aurora. People are going to take pictures of it and prideful and post it. So much is about the social media now and gaining traction and building content.
So what are some of those new trends you're seeing from some of this work you're doing nowadays compared to like 5 years ago? Kind of mentioned reaching out and kind of staying current, seeing through the eyes of people who might not be your peer group. But how are things changing that maybe someone who's not really looking through the eyes of others may not be noticing what you're seeing?
I don't think it changes all that much, right? The idea of when you're looking at a space like the Madhouse Team Store, for example, we know what the icons are. The Bulls Head logo, the Blackhawks Indian Head logo, right? The two trophies, iconic.
Right.
There's just the ability to elevate the level in that experience there that maybe people haven't done in the past. That's the kind of things I want to do. I want to kind of blow things up, and the football chandelier for the Green Bay Packers with some of the footballs glowing, amber, custom lighting, color changing LED lights and cast resin. Technology helps. As technology moves on, it helps enhance the things we're able to do. Over how you can hand build things versus the technology we need with 3D printing and things like that can certainly augment. But it's taking the elements. There you go, an old Chevy pickup truck, right? Yeah. Well, that we put upstairs in Packer Pro Shop because that's the area we're going to sell all the tailgating stuff and the home decor stuff and the things that are kind of outside the stadium. So it truly is, it's not really creating all this new stuff. It's taking the things that are there and elevating them or blowing them up in size and scale or presenting them. So, the fan who might see something small on a TV, right, now I'm next to it.
Does 555 have a specific like style that you go with, or do you start from scratch with every single project?
Yeah, my style wouldn't work for most of our customers. I have my own interests. No, it's always contoured directly for the customer. I keep my personal opinion out of it, but we keep our experience and our knowledge is a major part of it. And make suggestions. In the end, the clients are the one who are deciding, ultimately what they're willing to spend, how far you can push it. Good, for example, is an amazing one of the best stores that we've done recently at the Indy Motor Speedway.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So our client who operates retail all over, a lot of it's repeat customer legends who they're a major league operator of retail and hospitality and stadiums and all kinds of experiences. So my client for years knows how big of a motorsports fan I am. And he's like, James, someday we're gonna do something at the Motor Speedway. Finally, 10 years later, got it. And the client has told me that it is by far our best experience. There's a quick walkthrough, but it was just the opportunity to, for the first time, create an environment where the fans were really just so connected to the things, because they had nothing at the Speedway.
Oh, really?
We did a tent. There was a big, there were little tiny kiosk, belly up kiosks like you see in a lot of stadiums.
Yeah.
We did a portable mobile tent, a major retail tent that travels in 2 tractor trailers and sets up outside of racetracks. We've done that for them, but this was the first time they were actually redoing the museum, which the Indy Motor Speedway Museum hadn't touched it since the 50s. So they wanted to make that a real experience, and then they needed a great retail store to drop them in.
And part of that was like,
there you go.
Part of what you contributed was a replica of the starting tower.
Yep, a small version, the scoring tower, the bird cage, the starting tower, the pagoda. We had done in Legos, and the replica of the entire pagoda, really selling the Lego car kits around it.
Oh, wow.
Just, a lot of the elements. I used tires from the race cars for bases for mannequins, and components in the area where, the die-cast metal race cars are a really big category, and how to kind of pull all those iconic things you see at the Speedway together and present them as part of this retail makeup. And for me, just, we replicated the art of bricks, going straight down diagonally through the space, literally cast the bricks off of the raceway, turn that into a 1-yard brick path that follows diagonally through the space, and had them all hand painted, and and that's by the starting line, and it's those pieces you're trying to get the fan closer to, because they can't go out on the Speedway, they can't get in the pit, and you see those icons. So there you go. There's the art of bricks, and the LED lights kind of over and above kind of help draw you through there. That's Jason, our client, in the blue.
It's one of the it's the one of a kind sports experience.
Yeah,
I was there once.
Yeah,
a long time ago, and it's that kind of fan experience energizes people like almost nothing else.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been there a number of times, but yeah, I mean, the elements, like I said, are just, they're there, but fan can't get near it. So I want to give them little bits and pieces, but that's all. It's just there to hold the merchandise, to display the product. That's the environments that we do are. It's part of the experience, but the experience is selling the merchandise and selling the products and making that easy for the fans to get excited about.
I'd be remiss if I didn't comment just in terms of vehicles. There's more than a couple times I've seen in the work that 555 has done where they've taken a whole side of a vehicle.
Yeah, we cut vehicles
how does one
up.
do that?
we turn all kinds of stuff into stuff. Mobile engagement elements. Our old CTA bus that is, Goose Island uses, take to events. We made a 40-foot Svedka bottle that laid down on its side that had frosé machines, Svedka frosé machines, and disco balls, and went to festivals all over the country. So corporate sponsors engaged.
Yeah.
VW bus, cut it in half, used half of it, 73 VW microbus, put it on the back bar at a bar downtown that we had done some time ago, because the second floor, I decided was going to be kind of a hippie trip back to Woodstock.
Yeah.
So literally took half that VW bus, put it on the back bar, and put 40 tappers along the door.
Did you literally cut that thing with like a hand tool?
A few different hand tools. I have some very skilled craftsmen and artists that we're also as I said earlier, big motorsports fans and big into restoring cars. And so the idea of getting these things and chopping them and turning them into other stuff, I like that when we get a chance.
Nice.
We just found one here, the CTA train cart.
Yeah, so there you go. That was a very difficult one. That's at the Madhouse Team Store. Turn that into green screens where you can go in and hit a button, take your picture in the Zamboni, courtside seats. So that was kind of a third of, there you go. That's us having to hire all kinds of special equipment to get it from the Skokie train yard up to a buddy's place out west, where we then start taking it apart, reusing a bunch of the pieces that we're then going to turn into, and then setting up there at the Madhouse Team Store. So,
Man.
You don't realize how big a train car is until
Till you
you're
start
trying
cutting
to
it
move
apart.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But just for the record, I had an idea. It was pretty big.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a few
they're
people.
big.
That dude. So the yin to that yang, if you will. There was one installation that was like the Hotel Chocolat, where it was like it was like these like 100,
Yeah.
150 boxes
Yeah.
that were created.
So that's not our design. That was a group out of London, Hotel Chocolat, based in London. So we worked on their first two locations.
Did you
opened
handle
it-
fabrication?
We did all the
aspect?
fabrication
Okay.
of all those boxes,
Yeah.
and went through quite a bit of prototyping of various aspects of how to make that all work, how to get those illuminated.
Yeah.
Just because you could draw it doesn't mean you can build it. So
Right.
we get a
right.
lot of that, and that's a very good example of why people come to us, because we'll take on the challenge of figuring that out.
Yeah. Do you have these early meetings with other people from like the shop who are coming in to answer that question? Like you just said, like, wait up, we're not gonna be able to maybe kind of handle this back here. Can we change this?
Well, we'll go back to what you said earlier about my career. I prefer to tell the shop how to do it as opposed to ask their question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
mean, in
I
the end, I wanted to be expert enough that I could understand tooling,
think I appreciate
and I
that.
can teach them how to, with the same equipment and a different design, we can make a different product. And I think that's kind of where we're successful. And it's not design leading engineering; it's design being very knowledgeable about what's capable, but then pushing the envelope. So
Right.
I prefer to tell the shop what to do.
Yeah.
How does a sculptor, sculpting devotee, turn himself into a retailing specialist like yourself?
Good question. I got a first job out of college, graduated from University of Illinois with a company in Chicago called Niedermaier. That was a display company for many, many years. And I got the job with them because I had seen a little photo in an Italian furniture magazine called FABTECH. And when I was in college, I specialized in all that furniture. And I knew they were in Chicago. I was getting ready to graduate. It was probably September, October of the year prior to me graduating. So I don't even know when that is. That's 83. And I figured, hey, I'm going to drive up to Chicago. I'm going to make sure I have my job at the restaurant I was working at. And then I would go about looking for a job. And I just figured, hey, I'm going to stop by and see this Niedermaier company. I didn't know anything about them other than in this Italian
Yeah.
FABTECH magazine, there's this cool furniture piece, and it said Chicago. Well, I walked in, met a guy. I didn't know he was the art director. Just met a guy standing out front on Sheffield and Waveland on the north side,
Yeah.
where they were.
Wrigleyville.
In the end, he, showed me around. I didn't know that they were looking for a designer, but I ended up getting interviewed by Judy Niedermaier, who owned the company, by a bunch of other people. I just happened to have my portfolio in my car. I showed it around. I got hired by this company. Well,
Wow.
they were all about retail.
Yeah.
So they were looking for somebody to help them get in the furniture business, which I had all the skills and experience to do. But that was not their core business. They were going to be a showroom at the Merchandise Mart, a showroom in the D&D building, making some expensive furniture. So I was hired to design and build furniture and take napkin sketches and turn it into great stuff.
Yeah.
But the majority of the business was display.
Okay.
And so I learned all about retail.
Okay.
and quite a bit about the retail and fashion world from Judy Niedermaier, who was just grand dame in that world.
Yeah.
And then I started designing retail fixturing and displays and windows in Macy's and
Okay.
Bloomingdale's and, those recreation features. Well, it all played right into what I was good at. So I learned all about retail working through Niedermaier and the importance of it. And we were then being asked to design the full stores, not just do the display work, because as Judy was really a heavy hitter and pushing major league display and seasonal decor, her clients, who were the bosses of all these department store companies, needed specialty stuff. So she started having me show up, and I would design retail areas in a lot of these stores. And that's how we got into retail fixturing. And that certainly is one of the reasons how 555 started, was doing all that retail. So I learned the retail, I learned fashion, the importance of all that. And really, that was the Niedermaier experience. And one thing that I've learned, and I think is very appropriate, is fashion leads pretty much everything. Architecture, right? It's the trends in fashion change, and ideas about fashion start to help change architecture and environments, interiors and things like that. So understanding of fashion goes a real long way in all these other areas of what we do.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So your office is in shop on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
In a building that dates back
early 1900s. Early 1900s.
Yeah, like literally kind of one of Chicago's first like urban manufacturing districts.
The Central Manufacturing District, kind of Western Boulevard, Pershing Road. A lot of major, large manufacturing and cold storage buildings. Most of them were built in anticipation and supplying the First World War, the Second World War, were kind of back of the yards, back of the stockyard neighborhoods. All the buildings have railroad sidings that would go out to Navy Pier. So all these kind of commercial and commodity products that were being produced for the war effort, that was the Central Manufacturing District. So our wood shop is in what was Levitt Furniture's original manufacturing building.
Okay.
And then, I'm sorry, the metal shop is in Levitt's Furniture. Ours is O Cedar Broom Company.
Right. A brand still around.
The buckets and the brooms.
Yeah. So the Central Manufacturing District, most of it had fallen apart, and there wasn't much going on in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but there's been some condo conversions of some of those big buildings. The U.S. government owned a bunch of the buildings using for cold storage and warehousing. The Chicago public school system has a bunch of buildings down there. So we have two buildings that we've obviously used for manufacturing and turned them into good, viable spaces for our manufacturing.
Yeah. But also it just kind of like, to me, it just resonates in terms of the history there, and you're kind of doing kind of not what was done there, but carrying along that spirit as well. Is it a place for good vibes? I mean, does that feed the creativity? Or does the reality of working on that building that old defeat the...
No, it's great. It's great being in lofted buildings. I always have been my entire career, both in business, working for somebody else, but then in our business. So that real loft environment, heavy timber, it's great. It's not a little office. It's not, downtown with the masses. It's a little away from, the places that a lot of our staff would prefer to work, but you need that for manufacturing. You need the square footage.
Right.
It's changing a lot right now. We were actually just hired to create branding and graphics and for what is going to be 99 Dock Distribution Center next door to us. So with the change of manufacturing and all that, a major league conduit and thin wall tube supplier, Wheatland, which is next to us and wrapped around us, they're moving. They sold the property.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, I do remember that place being there.
Yeah. So they're done production there. They're kind of closing out their business there, and they're going to knock all that down except for the facade on Western and put in 4 buildings and 99 docks and, small light manufacturing and warehousing and all that.
No kidding.
And that's literally on 44th or 45th. That's our neighbor now.
Yeah.
So we got hired by Brookfield, the property owner, to design and create the branding and the identity because they want to have some local connection and originality. So actually, it's kind of funny because I don't want to be near 99 loading docks. Originally, the thought was, or we were told, Amazon bought it, and it was going to end up being an Amazon DC. But the writing's on the wall now for how industrial properties are turning into what Amazon and and parts distribution centers and things like that. So a lot of the properties down there are now turning into that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. And they'll keep the facade though.
Just the brick facade on Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of the challenge now.
Yeah. Right.
How to make that look cool with the rest of their white sheet metal corrugated buildings, precast concrete.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring some beauty to it. But they hired us wanting to have some sort of reality connection and
aesthetic appeal.
Yeah. And, we do a pretty amazing job of, conjuring up and looking at what's appropriate about Chicago, the Central Manufacturing District, the icons that were part of that, and applying it in a way that, is going to be rich and a real difference for them because most of the buildings they do are pretty stale.
Yeah. How close is that to some of the residential in that area?
Well, everything across, so we have Western Boulevard and we have Western Avenue. The west side of Western Avenue is residential all along there.
Well, I guess that
Quite a
does
bit.
in city. You find that one on top of the other, right?
Yeah.
What product? You say in a video on your website your favorite project is the one you just completed.
And the last one done.
We'll put you on the spot. How about I ask you this? What aspects of a project do you find the most challenging and rewarding?
That's 2 different things. Challenging and rewarding are
I
beginning
assumed
and the
after
end.
accomplishing a challenge, that would be the reward.
The
but
beginning and the end.
Go ahead.
Everything in the middle is, for me, I know what it's going to look like when I start on a project. So the ability to make it all happen and deal with other people and contractors and all that whole thing, and it's not the middle, it's the majority of the project. So I'm all about the beginning and then the end to deliver what that original thought was. But what you had commented on, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite project, the last one done? Because they're all a lot of work, right? And they're all very challenging. And at this point, I'm kind of all about the challenges now. I know I'm not really too interested in just designing another space or this or that. There's some major challenges that I like to take on,
Like what?
not biting off more than you can chew, but within reason. You have experience with manufacturing and technology and how can I make it happen. A project called Francois Frankie's downtown.
Yeah.
That Carousel bar.
The Carousel.
Making that spin and figuring out how to do that and the design and putting that in a very high-end glass structured building downtown and making it somewhat, why is this ornate carousel here in this building, and putting it in an environment that might allude to a piazza in an Italian city, and there was that beautiful carousel in the corner. But the challenge was, few challenges was, how can I figure out, how are we going to build this thing? How are we going to make it happen? There's a carousel bar built in the 50s at the Hotel Monteleone
in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
Yeah.
And
I assume there was just a company making those things.
No, there isn't. You'd see more of that.
Yeah, I guess I would, right?
My client called me up and said, James, you know that carousel bar? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how about making one in Chicago for me? So that started the process, and my daughter was going to Tulane at the time, so I was headed down there for a trip and took my wife over and just kind of stood there for about half an hour, had a drink, as I'm figuring out how it worked. Watching what was moving, what was not moving, and thinking about, what the section through the die panel was, how the outer part and the bar top and the skirt around it was moving, but
That's
nothing
so
else was
funny.
moving. So literally stood there and figured out how to make it happen. Not that you could just come back and buy all kinds of parts and pieces,
Right.
but at least I had an idea of the engineering it would take to do that. But the biggest challenge in the whole thing was getting the city of Chicago to approve it.
Why?
Well, because you've never seen anything like that before.
Seriously.
And if you know anything about getting a municipality to approve something, they like to approve things that have been done before. Nobody puts their signature on something that,
Right.
nobody's done before or potentially could hurt people. Oh, what happens?
especially
What
in a
happens if
bar.
somebody trips? It's got so
There's
many.
only one thing they're going to be more concerned about is the daycare.
That's
Yeah. But it was truly then figuring out how I was going to lead up the team and get to the building commissioner at the time, a wonderful woman, Judith Freeland. And how am I going to go about getting this thing approved? And then, finding out that, well, as she told me, you're going to have to go to the elevator department. And I'm like, no, because working with the elevator department is one of the worst things in the world. Yeah, well, she
Just goes
said
down
That's
fast, right?
that's one hell of a phrase.
it is difficult. And the reason why she sent me to elevators, and, I've dealt with them before, is because they deal with all amusement rides. Anything that,
Oh.
escalators, anything that's moving,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that made it triple how hard it was going to be to get
It's just going around and
disapproved.
around. It's not going up and down. It's okay.
Yeah. Around and around at a very slow speed.
That's right.
It is.
But
It's very
the-
manageable.
The challenge of taking that on was what I got excited about. I was confident we'd come up with a way to make it look proper, and the concept of the environment.
It's really a nice. I mean,
Yeah.
having been to the Hotel Monteleone and actually had a drink there, it's literally. I mean, it's well done.
Yeah.
I thought literally it was from the same people.
Yeah.
Not that apparently,
Yeah.
bar carousels is not a big market.
It is not. But it was the
We only know of two at this point.
Yeah, you asked me what drives me now, and a lot of it is challenges. After a period of time,
36 years.
designing others more restaurants or retail stores is not exciting. So
So
taking on some of those challenges.
part of the thing FMA does is, we kind of support metal fabricating, manufacturing is kind of a career choice. Do you get a sense of that? Is this country kind of going back to its roots as one that kind of wants to embrace stuff being made instead of, everybody working in front of a computer? Do you buy that?
Well, it depends on who you're listening to and what station these days. Obviously I'm a fabricator. I'm a designer, builder, creator. I wish we hadn't lost all the fabrication, and for a lot of reasons, we get priced out of it, cheaper labor in other countries, lesser materials. I believe, we should be making a lot more stuff. It's kind of been very depressing over the years to see so much stuff go overseas. And I'm just talking, volume and quantity of things. Since I do everything custom,
Mm-hmm.
right, that's not easy to do,
Yeah.
right? I would like to think, and I know that there's a smaller group of people that are always going to embrace and hold on to it, and that is kind of our innovation, right? And the ability to make things in a small way by hand, that are unique and rich in their character and their design and their appeal. That's not easy to make,
Yeah.
right? And the idea of, oh, how can I do that, right? I think it's unfortunate that we don't have enough of that anymore. It would be nice to see that, it's encouraged to spur more growth in
Right.
manufacturing domestically. It's sad for me and people like us to see that there is less and less out there.
Yeah.
But I'm a fabricator.
Yeah.
It's I'm an artist, designer, builder, fabricator.
Right.
I'm a carpenter. I put all those hats on.
Yeah. I think, that for me is the big thing in terms of if you're not going to do it, at least you have knowledge of it.
Yeah.
And then with that comes appreciation, but also wisdom of how important it is in terms of communities, making sure the country has the ability to support itself.
Yep.
That's kind of a broad statement, but it's a noble thing. I don't think there's anything, there's not too many negatives.
When I started my company, the original name was 555 Design Fabrication Management Incorporated, right? That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
James Geier and Associates wasn't a good name, but I came up with a very long-winded name. But the idea at that point was nobody knew me. Nobody knew anything that I'd be doing. Again, before Google and computers and all that, you had to create, a brand,
right?
And memorable moments. So fabrication was a big part of it. I wanted people to know what I was doing. I was designing, I was fabricating, and I was managing. But all along, the plan was to drop those three things and just be known as 555. And then I'm very irreverent. And then people are like, what the hell kind of name is that? Well, it's the ability to make a memorable experience, because the minute you thought, what the hell kind of name is that? You're going to remember that again and again. So that was all by design, purely. And, the idea that 36 years later, a lot of people have heard of us. A lot of people have heard we're very expensive, but we're great. And it's okay. There's a lot of business I don't get because it's expensive, but,
look what you get. Well, it's interesting. So obviously the world has changed quite a bit since 1989. What would you say we run into a lot of young fabricators at shows, at conferences. What would you say to someone like that who's intimidated by the overseas competition, say, just the way the world has changed and kind of steeped itself against North American fabricating?
Yeah.
What would you say to them if they really want to get into this business, but they're scared?
Well, know your shit. Better than everyone else. Figure out a way that you could be different and specialize in something. Being a generalist in today's day and age is very competitive, and you're fighting for minuscule margins. So figure out a way where you can charge more for your time and your labor and your product, a premium, a value added. What do you bring to the table more than your competition?
Yeah.
Right? You have to figure that out and then be confident in that and deliver that. I never intended to be in business. I didn't come from family or anybody that I knew that was in business. It was pretty much happenstance that I was asked to work on some things that I had worked on, and then all of a sudden I had to start a company because they said, where do we send the check? And, I didn't figure writing it out to me was the way to go. So I consulted my friend who was an attorney. He said, you need to incorporate.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm in business, and I thought long and hard about that. Well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it better, in my opinion, than what I see is out there. And you're going to have to put the effort into it because, as an entrepreneur, as somebody starting their own business, you have to put a lot more effort in than anybody else, right? But the rewards at the other end are, look at what you've created.
Yeah.
And that goes in a lot of businesses, but, the idea of manufacturing, employ technology where it's needed, right? Not everything has to be technology driven, but come up with a unique product or come up with a product that has an advantage or is something that, people are looking for. Future think it, come up with what's my next step as well, right? You can't come up with just one thing and figure that's going to take me forever. Yeah. You have to always be in R&D. You always have to be looking at voids in the marketplace for a specific type of product or industry you're going to be in. Innovate, right, to the level that you can.
Use your personal time for the think time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to put a lot more effort in. you know, the clock doesn't stop when you're leading your own company. It you know, it'd be nice to think that you could have a 9-to-5 job, but not as a leader and an owner of a company.
Yeah.
I think that advice is also applicable to individuals.
Yeah.
Kind of, you
Without a
almost have
doubt.
to be your own brand nowadays.
I started teaching a class at Tulane University's business school. Fortunately, I only have to be in New Orleans January through May, so all the good weather in New Orleans and all the bad weather here. But I was asked a number of years ago to get involved in them developing a hospitality program because Tulane didn't have a
wow.
hospitality anything, and probably arguably some of the earliest
Right.
of Southern hospitality.
The
Heck of a
town
ner-
big on that.
Heck of a nursing program.
It started as a medical school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful school. Anyways, I was approached by the dean of the business school. People say, "Oh, you're teaching at Tulane? You're teaching a design class?" No, not really. Not really. But it is the design of businesses. It's a course I started called Entrepreneurial Hospitality. But it isn't necessarily all about the hospitality industry. It's about what we've learned of hospitality and that great guest experience and the repeat business that comes from, you know, that connection, and they'll tell their friends and so on and so on and so on. But we apply it to every business. So a lot of the things that I talk about with those young entrepreneurs and, you know, wanting to be in the fabrication business and growing the business in America domestically now, do we have a ramp back up now to sing a lot of great stuff? Yeah, but it's going to take tremendous effort and to build opportunities and, you know, that making sure that the guest experience is superior happens all the time, and it should happen in all these businesses, right? How can that young entrepreneur, that young fabricator think about getting into that business? Well, you're going to have to go beyond,
right?
And, you know, it's a lot of sleepless nights and sleepless days, and, you know, and toiling and figuring out what is that kernel that, you know, really sets it apart.
Part of the problem solving, right?
Yeah,
That's where it starts.
I've always liked to think that and teach that we're part of the solution, not part of the problem. A lot of people are just part of the problem, and I end up getting jobs because the client is tired with somebody else that didn't do a good job, or the designer sucked, or you know, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Oh, let James do it. You know, let 555 do it. They can figure it out. So that's part of the solution, not the problem.
I'm sure I would have fulfilled that role in metal fabricating, creating opportunities for others.
Yeah.
Awesome. You want to add anything, Gareth?
Do you have like you said about 170 employees?
Yeah.
Do they work on separate, like do some work in the restaurant sector?
Oh, that's only in manufacturing.
Yeah.
That would be the metal shop and the lighting company, and then the wood shop. Separately in the hospitality business, that number is probably double if you take into account bars and restaurants that we have. So that's completely talk about something you have to be passionate about and live with forever, is being in the bar and restaurant business.
Yeah.
That is not easy to leave to other people.
Right.
And the folks that you have working in the fab shop and your wood shop, where do you source those employees from? Are they longtime employees, or
Yeah, quite a bit actually. The metal shop. So my partner, Paul O'Hady, a number of years older than me, he was an industrial engineer in sheet metal fabrication. I met him when I was at Niedermaier looking for somebody to do retail fixturing for me. That's how I met Paul. And then Paul and I got together, and I designed and built a bar, and Paul said, "I want to be involved in anything you're involved with." So in that regard, generations work in the metal shop.
Oh, wow.
Very prideful in that regard. We have people that have been for decades, and then their kids, and then their kids' kids.
Wow.
Not so much in the wood shop. We've had a lot of long-term employees, but the metal shop, the lighting company, has really grown its own. Start sweeping the floor and work your way up. I guess the wood shop is the same thing. You hire people to start doing some basic work and train them internally, and then move up the scale. it's hard to go out and
Yeah.
just, it's very competitive now to find any good staff. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't just go out and say, I need, send me somebody. So we do a lot of internal training.
It's cool that, you're such a unique type of business, but in a way, there are elements that are very similar to other shops.
Yeah.
And particularly what you described.
Yeah.
If they can home grow their own employees, it's just better for everybody.
That's the way to do it,
Yeah.
mentor and train and, make sure that bad habits don't progress.
Right.
We've hired plenty of people, and I would say, hiring management is more problematic than hiring on-the-floor labor, because a lot of times, they worked in different companies, and
Yeah.
you don't know who they are until they're on
Right.
the floor pissing everybody off. So
Yeah.
you have to watch close as you're managing people. When I hire people and I know I can't make a final decision on them for a year, right?
Wow.
Because we kind of have to go through the entirety of it and then put the effort in to teach and
Mm-hmm.
train and, expectations and know, okay, well, I understand why you were doing that, but this is how I'd like to see it done, or these are the ways that we can improve. So I try and give people a year.
Wow.
And, I'll know earlier if they're going to make it or not, but
You
give everybody the opportunity, give them enough rope to hang themselves, right? But I'm a strong believer in training, teaching, right?
Mhm.
The only way I can get out of the staff members if I put the effort in
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that, their efforts and energies are in the right direction for
Yeah.
what we need.
All part of the role, right?
Yeah,
No time off for the boss man.
that's right. Pretty much.
Well, great. Thanks so much for joining us today, James.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It
been
was-
You're as
great
interesting
time.
as your business.
There you go.
There
Well,
you
yeah.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. I
Pretty interesting,
appreciate it. Let's go manufacturing in America.
There
How
you
about
go.
that?
Absolutely.
Bringing it back.
Yeah.
If you have any comments, criticisms, complaints, send them to Gareth at fmamfg.org or podcast at fmamfg.org. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And I think that's it. All right, now. Bye-bye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geier, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
Not to brag, but I'm pretty entertaining.